discussion regarding the development of a plastic recycling facility by Freeport Ecosystems within Eloy Industrial Park. I have Mr. Krause. You are up.
1 minute, if I may.
What do you want me to do?
Let me speak.
You want to talk?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Krause, before you speak, I've got Supervisor Miller over here.
Okay. So this item is being brought before the Board of Supervisors. It was generated from when I was on the board chairman at the time.
You were the board?
I was a board chairman at the time, and I had a constituent that came to me about the process of this organization, of this company, and I basically had given the impression that there would be an opportunity to discuss it in front of the Board of Supervisors. I misspoke, and I have got us in a position here that is probably not fair to the individual I spoke to about this project. So our legal counsel is going to explain kind of the rules of work sessions and why there can't be any other discussion from anybody else. Mr. Chu has given me a packet that will be distributed to all the board after the meeting. So from there, you can put the blame on Supervisor Steve Miller 100% for this thing. This is the debacle that we've ended up in. But I'll just have to deal with it the best I can going forward. So, but Ms. Robertson, if you would kind of just lay down kind of the rules of engagement for work sessions.
Thank you, Supervisor Miller. Unlike a special session or a regular board session where the board will be taking legal action or making a decision, work sessions are designed to be opportunities for the staff to give updates and information and seek guidance from the board. It is not an opportunity for public discussion. There is no call to the public, so there should be no discussion from audience members or public members at this time.
Jeff?
Thank you.
Not particularly on this item, but if someone from the board would want to hear from someone on a subject, could we not include them into the discussion?
There should not be public input. This should be the staff updating the board on the pending items or the issues that they need clarification on.
Like today, I assume somebody in that group over there is going to talk. If there's another person over there that has info and is an expert,
yes, but
can we then request to hear from them as well?
It would be members who were identified by staff members and so forth for having that information that they've invited in to speak to the board, but not public discourse.
Yes.
Does
we
that clarify?
We can ask questions of whoever's speaking, but yes, no one from the public can get in on it. Yes.
We good?
Yeah.
Mr. Krause.
Good morning, Chairman McClure and members of the Board of Supervisors. A company by the name of Freeport Ecosystems will be constructing a plastic recycling facility within the city of Eloy in the Eloy Industrial Park, which is roughly a southeast corner of Battaglia and I-10. They have received approval from the city to construct this facility. It will have 100 permanent jobs, 200 construction jobs. It's on about 44 acres. My understanding is they'll be diverting plastic waste from the landfills within the region, and roughly it's about 400 million pounds of plastic per year is my understanding they'll be diverting from landfills. They estimate about 19 million in tax revenues over 10 years. There's no approvals for the board regarding this facility. It's within corporate limits of Eloy. The only approval that Pinal County had was an air quality permit, which the staff has, which has been in the works for a couple years. And recently they received approval from staff on a modification of that permit in November of last year. And it's I understand it's in the 30-day review, public review process. Otherwise, as I indicated, no board approvals are necessary. This is purely, as Supervisor Miller indicated, just for your information and knowledge. Jeff Story, he's the Chief Development Officer for the company, is here, and he has a PowerPoint presentation for you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Story, I guess you're up since you brought the show.
Do I have control over the PowerPoint? Yes, you can use the mouse or how do I scroll? I'm not sure how or how I use this.
That's fine.
It has a tendency to jump forward and backwards quickly.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that works. Thank you for having us here today to talk about our project. We first came to Eloy back in 2001, so we've been working on this project for a long, long time, and we appreciate the opportunity to present it to you guys. So Freepoint Ecosystems, who we are, what we do, we're a company that basically takes waste plastic and recycles it back into what plastic was before it was plastic, which all plastic basically is derived from oil and gas. So we're converting plastic through a thermal process back into a recycled oil and gas product. That recycled oil and gas product we then sell back to the petrochemical industry so that they can make new plastic with it. So our customers are Dow Chemical, DuPont's, Lydendel's, Exxon Chemical. It's basically the petrochemical industry. So that's what we do. We turn waste plastic into a recycled oil product that we sell back to the petrochemical industry. This entire process is certified by an independent body based out of Europe called ISCC. So this will be an ISCC certified facility, and ISCC basically certifies the recycling process at our plant as well as at our downstream customers all the way down the line back to the final recycled product that somebody wants to sell. So this is just a simplified diagram that sort of explains what we do, sort of the life of a plastic. And I guess what I try to explain here is the difference between what we're doing and what a traditional mechanical recycler does. So the Coke bottles or the Pepsi bottles that you put into your blue bin, those are traditionally mechanically recycled. So what happens, those get collected, they get sorted out, they get washed, cleaned, shredded, reflaked, and they extrude those into new pellets that they can use to make new Coke bottles. Now, if you think about a lot of the plastics that you see on the store shelves, like laundry detergent bottles, shampoo bottles, if you collect all those bottles, shred them all up, and then re-extrude them, what you get is something like this. This is actually a recycled pellet, traditionally recycled through mechanical recycling. I'll pass this around. And as you can see, when you mix all those different plastics together, you get this gray pellet. So you can make new things with that, but sometimes those are what people are making is they make paint buckets or they make park benches with it. It's very difficult to turn it back into a new bottle of Tide detergent. With advanced
It's like Play-Doh. It all turns the same
yeah,
color, right?
Exactly. Okay. It's like Play-Doh. So When we turn that plastic back into oil and send it back into the petrochemical complex, we can take a beer pong solo cup and recycle it back into a Ziploc bag because we're breaking it back down into oil and gas. They can make any plastic product back from it. That's why the petrochemical companies like our process so much. That's why they promote it so much. And that's why they're our customers. So we do have one of these existing facilities in operation. It's in Hebron, Ohio. It's about 30 miles east of Columbus. This is the actual facility. It sits on 25 acres. You can see in the lower hand picture our pyrolysis plant, or the petrochemical side of our plant. It actually sits on about 4 acres. Most of the space, there's 500,000 acres of warehouse space in there. That's where we actually bring in the plastic waste, sort it out, and we turn it into a final product that's ready for the pyrolysis reactor outside. That's what these represent. So this facility's been in existence, in operation since about March of last year. We have over 100 employees there. We're actually making deliveries via rail car to our customer, Shell Chemical, down on the Gulf Coast, and it's designed to recycle about 175 million pounds a year. What we're proposing in Eloy is basically double this plant. So the reason we've come to Pinal County, the reason we've come to Eloy is we approach these projects regionally. Our facility in Ohio is basically our Midwest facility. It collects waste from the entire Midwest region, from Michigan, Chicago, Detroit, Louisville. In Eloy and in Phoenix, or in Arizona here, I should say, Pinal County, we want this really to be our Southwest hub. So we expect to collect plastic waste from Southern California, from Las Vegas, from New Mexico, maybe even as far away as Denver. Certainly everything we can collect from the Arizona market as well. And we liked the Eloy site because really of its location directly on the UP line, because we have to ship all that oil back to the Gulf Coast. It's really a nice little industrial park. It sits between 2 major population centers that we hope to collect a lot of waste plastic from, Tucson and Phoenix. And it has that great sort of I-10, I-8 interconnection as well. So it was just sort of an ideal location for us. We had some familiarity with the area, and that's really why we chose Pinal County and Eloy. This is our process. The important part of this process is what occurs inside the warehouse. There, we can't really just take any old waste and put it in the reactor. We're really targeting very specific plastics. So we need to sort out contaminants and undesirable plastics. All of that occurs inside the warehouse. Once we have that finished product, we convey it outside the warehouse and into the pyrolysis reactor. The pyrolysis reactor is a rotary kiln that rotates and heats up the plastic in the absence of oxygen. So we're not trying to combust or burn the plastic. We're just trying to degrade it back down into oil and gas. What comes out of that reactor is a hot hydrocarbon vapor. It's a whole mix of hydrocarbons, everything from natural gas to unleaded gasoline to diesel to heavy oils. It's a distribution of hydrocarbons. The very lightest hydrocarbons, so the methane, the ethane, which is kind of like natural gas, we actually take that and recycle it and use it to heat the kiln. So you can really think of like 10% of the plastic we're really using as heat. The rest of the plastic we condense into liquid form. That's where the condensation occurs. We load it onto tanker cars and we ship it back to our customers, which are primarily in the Gulf Coast area. So we ship that certified recycled oil out of here. What also comes out of the reactor, which is about 5 or 6%, is a kind of like a carbon black product. We call it like a char. But that also comes out of the kiln, and that gets disposed of. So here's a picture of the Eloy Industrial Park and sort of the site development plan that we proposed. So in the bottom is the warehouse. We proposed a 320,000 square foot warehouse where we will process all of the waste plastic into that finished product that's ready to go into the kiln. The 4 large cylindrical objects, those are the pyrolysis kilns. That's where we actually convert the plastic back into a hydrocarbon. And then everything to the, it looks like it's to the north, but to the east of that is where we do the cooling and condensing and then the storing of the product. So we rail out all of the product. Most of the waste plastic feedstock will come in via truck. So like we already discussed, or the staff already explained, we received our site plan approval from the city of Eloy in December. We had received our air permit back in December 2021, but really based on our knowledge and learnings in Ohio, we modified our permit application. We included more recovery of more products, and we submitted for a modification to our air permit in November 2025, which we hope to conclude that process shortly. We want to be good community citizens. We certainly strive to do that in Ohio. We'll work with the city of Eloy and sort of find where we can be the most impactful, but that obviously is an important element for us in the communities that we get involved in. We already went through some of these economic impacts. I will say we're going to install new roads in the industrial park to handle the additional traffic and to give us better access to our property. We're also going to upgrade the main line on the UP line, which should ultimately, both the roads and the UP upgrades will benefit other industrial customers in the future in that industrial park. So these are some of the takeaways. I don't really need to go through those, but I will go through some of these myths and facts. So one of the myths that gets talked about a lot is that we're basically incineration, or that we're burning the plastic. This is definitely a myth. Pyrolysis, by definition, is heating in the absence of oxygen. If we combust or incinerate the plastic, we have no product to sell. We basically destroy the plastic. So by definition, pyrolysis is not incineration or combustion. Myth number 2, pyrolysis should be regulated as an incinerator or a waste combustor. If you've ever looked at a mass burn incinerator and you've looked at our plant, they're clearly 2 very different things. We don't want to incinerate the plastic. We'll have no product if we do that. The Pinal County Air Quality District, as well as the Ohio EPA, as well as the Arizona Air Quality, the state DEQ, have all basically said, with our recycling yields, we are not a waste combustor. We are not an incinerator. We do not need to be regulated as such. Claim number 3, post-consumer waste is unsuitable for pyrolysis. I might call this a misconception. If you're just going to put waste in our pyrolysis reactor, it's totally unsuitable for that. If you just put any old plastic in there, it's unsuitable for that. We spend about 1/3 of our money on sortation and contamination cleanup within that warehouse. We are targeting very specific plastics. If you send sorted, prepped material into your reactor, it's completely suitable for that. That's what we're doing in Ohio. That's what we're going to do here as well. Number 4, oxygen is bad and risky in the reactor. That's true. We absolutely don't want any oxygen intrusion into the reactor. We design the facility as such. We run hazard studies to ensure no oxygen gets into the reactor. That's absolutely true. Pyrolysis only creates oil. Well, Pyrolysis creates a hydrocarbon product. So propane, you can grill a hamburger with propane. I do that at my home. You can also turn propane into a yogurt cup. A yogurt cup is polypropylene. Propylene comes from propene. Propene comes from propane. So propane can be used as a fuel. It can be used to make yogurt cups. When we sell ISCC certified propane to our petrochemical customers, their highest and best use is to turn that back into a propane cup. That's what the ISCC certification ensures that they do. My customers, they can do whatever they want with it once I sell it to them. But the fact pattern that is true is we took waste plastic that was going to landfill, we turned it back into a petrochemical product, and we sent it back to the petrochemical companies. That's a pound of plastic that didn't need to go into landfill, and that's a pound of oil that didn't need to be drilled for and sent to the petrochemical complex. That part we're doing, that part is incontrovertible. Finally, advanced recycling is new, it's unproven, it's unprofitable. This is not an old industry. People have not been doing this for a long time. That part is true. There are other facilities. There's lots of other facilities that do this. There's facilities in Europe that do this. There are facilities, there are companies that have tried to do this and that have gone out of business. It is a relatively novel and new industry. We're trying to scale it up, but it does work. We are making it work in Ohio. We are making deliveries work. And Pinal County and the city of Eloy, you do get the benefit of being second mover, which is we're only going to build this one if we're confident that the first one works. The first one's already built in operation. You're going to get all the learnings. You're going to get all the benefits of that project. So that's all I have today.
Questions?
I'll take questions.
You'll get a couple. Supervisor Surtee.
He said that $19 million in tax revenue will be generated. What is actually taxable? How do you get tax money from this?
I mean, I think our personal property, so our private property, and
It's all $19 million in property taxes?
Over 10 years.
over the term of the deal.
So it's property taxes, not sales?
I mean, we're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in
not
real.
sales taxes is what I was
Correct.
asking. Okay.
Correct.
And where do you get the raw material?
We get that, we get it from a variety of sources. Some of it comes from the existing recycling infrastructure. So we'll get some material from the material recovery facilities in Phoenix and Tucson.
So you will pay those companies to give this to you?
Depends on the material. Generally speaking, our material is landfill bound, so we generally buy it for nearly nothing.
The reason I ask, I was a former mayor, and it got to a point, a lot of people think they're required to recycle and they think they're saving the world. You have this bin and this bin, and they were making money for corporate companies who received that. They were then selling it to Vietnam and China. They actually quit buying it because Vietnam is full. They don't want it anymore. And they make it into cheap toys and Frisbees and stuff like that. And then they said no more. And the whole industry almost died, but people still thought they were saving the planet. And kind of like, do you remember, there used to be newspaper drop-offs. A lot of churches would make money. First off, there's no newspapers anymore. And then also there was people, they quit taking that. So I just want any city or entity, hey, you're not you're helping I don't want to hurt your business. I want you to thrive and make money, but I don't want people to think that they're required to do this. If so, I think they should almost be compensated, like collecting glass and returning bottles, rather than just have a company make billions off of this and then have the people do all the work. Kind of like there's a difference between Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, and Salvation Army. Goodwill gets everything given to them for free, and they make 100% profit. and they don't give anything back to the community, but St. Vincent de Paul and Salvation Army do. So what does the community get out of this?
I mean, we don't need public support or incentives. There's 36 million tons a year of waste plastic. So most of the waste plastic we acquire is somebody who's trying to avoid landfill costs. So we buy some of that material from the existing recycling system. We buy some of that material from manufacturing waste. We buy, an example I gave to the city of Eloy yesterday is we buy pill bottles. So every time you don't pick up a prescription, Walgreens disposes of the pills, and then they have leftover pill bottles. Because your prescription information is on that pill bottle, it has to go to a document destruction company. So they have to shred up that pill bottle to destroy your information on it. That company then landfills all of those pill bottles. So we acquire that pill bottle from them. We may pay them a little bit, or often we pay them nothing, but they're avoiding landfill cost by giving the material to us. So we acquire those pill bottles. We have stacks of those pill bottles in our Ohio warehouse. There's a multitude of things like that in the existing recycling system. The Coke bottles and Pepsi bottles, those are actually recycled by recyclers, but the labels aren't. Those labels, they can't recycle. Those are all going to landfill. We acquire that material as well. The little cap on the Coke bottle, that's polypropylene. That often goes to landfill. We acquire that as well. So there's a lot of plastic waste everywhere. So we don't need people to do anything. Plastic waste is generated everywhere. Now, we spend time trying to find the best value, the best material, the material with the least amount of contaminants, the material that we can process the easiest. But there's waste plastic everywhere.
One last question, Jeff.
Sure.
So Ian and Christine, why would there not be a sales tax? I mean, they're obviously making a product and selling this out of state for tens of millions.
Wholesale.
Why is there not a sales tax for a product that's sold?
Vice Chair Surtee, I do not have an answer to that right now, and that would require some looking into research on the matter. I'm not an expert on sales
I know
tax.
when things are sold out of state now, there are taxes collected. If you sell something on eBay and it goes to Michigan, then the tax stays here, and then the product gets sent to Michigan.
But
Just
Mr. Curtis,
curious.
that's a nexus issue. And I used to deal with that in manufacturing. We built a product and would send out of state to another customer, and if we're selling wholesale to a retailer, they're collecting their sales tax. We never bothered with that. That was never something we had to deal with.
For instance, we have
Wholesale to a retail to another distributor, they collect a sales tax possibly at the other end, but that's a whole.
For instance, we in Chandler, they've got Intel, and Phoenix has Raytheon, whatever. Is there not just taxes collected on those products?
Probably not, because they probably sell it, they're the manufacturer, they sell it to another wholesaler who's building and putting in their product, who then sells it to a retailer, who then collects the sales tax at the end user point. It's a chain of processing.
I mean, I'm a retailer myself, I should know this, so, but in those
You don't make
cases.
something, you don't make it, you're selling a product which is made somewhere
Right,
else.
I'm just wondering, I mean, we always want manufacturers to come here, but we don't, the citizens don't get anything from the product made, only property taxes. So,
I have a question for you. Are
that
you,
true?
Are you?
Leo knows this, he's the numbers guy.
Thank you, Chairman. Supervisor Surtee, generally, yes, that's correct. The wholesaler is going to get an exemption but the consumer, or in our case, as you know, the complexities with privilege tax, the business is the taxpayer who's paying the privilege tax of doing business in the state, but they can either pass it on to the consumer or they can factor it in and remit it to the state. But generally speaking, the manufacturer who's going to wholesale it isn't going to pay the privilege tax on it. It's going to be
So the sales tax will eventually be collected when it's made back into a finished petroleum product and sold. Yep. Okay, thank you.
So my question, because you were talking about things sent to landfill. Now, I know I have a particular case where I have a trash collector that had a transfer dump, and they quit taking recycling because it was costing them too much. By the time they would send it to the recycler down in Tucson, they said, oh, my gosh, no, this is contaminated. It's done. And they'd have to pay $100 or $105 a ton to haul it off. So it's killing them. So they said, we're not doing that anymore. Okay, that's fine. But that's a landfill-bound product at that point. Okay, that's one. So if you're going to take this landfill bound product, and I would assume their recycling is, paper, plastic, steel. It's got all kinds of stuff, right? So do you take that type of product and then sort it out? No.
No.
Okay.
Like standard municipal solid waste or material that's going directly to landfill, we typically do not, no. We typically do not do that because the percent of plastic in that material will be relatively small versus like organics and.
Okay, so that's interesting to know. So not all landfill bound stuff is going to go. So, but you're looking at manufacturing waste and pill bottles and that type of thing. Where else would you? So from trash collection, you wouldn't take any of those. You don't wind up with that plastic. Okay. So
we will not be shipping any like municipal solid waste to Eloy to sort through that.
Okay. No. Okay. So then
that's too unprofitable.
Right.
And there's not enough plastic in it.
No, I get it.
It's highly contaminated.
Right. Okay. So then the other side of that is when you get these plastics in, because back at your picture where it's a whole bunch of plastics, polypropylene, styrene, who knows. I can't even think of the plastics at the moment. But anyway, so how do you sort that? Just out of curiosity, I mean, if you got a big, here's a pile of plastics we got, really cool. Now, what do you do with that? It's just a processing piece for me. I'm trying to.
Yeah. So you can kind of see in the top right-hand corner. It's the same thing that they do with your blue bin. So Phoenix has all of the blue bin material in Phoenix gets collected and goes to what's called a MRF, a material recovery facility. They have two of them, one in North Phoenix, one in South Phoenix. And it's a mechanical process. So they put all the material on a conveyor belt and they use all kinds of methods for sorting out. To determine the specific plastic type, there's something called near-infrared optical scanner. So all the material sits on a belt. There's a near-infrared light that's shined on it, and based on the wavelength of the light returning it to it, it can detect the type of plastic it is.
Okay,
so we'll know if it's
little fingers come down and grab it and pick it up?
No, so then there's on the belt, at the end of the belt, there's little air jets. So the belt moves at, you wouldn't believe the speed the belt moves at. The belt moves at incredibly high speed. It scans the belt, detects the plastic types, and then knows when the material's about to fall over the belt, and a little burst of air throws that material over a divider. So it does a positive sort, so the material you're targeting falls over to the divider and everything else falls down. And then you have two different belts on the other side. So then one belt takes away the thing you're targeting, and the other belt takes the trash or the residue away. So it's near-infrared optical scanning, and it's air bursts that do that. You will see there are robots that people do that. They don't work as efficient enough and fast enough, and they can't. The technology hasn't quite got there with robots, but really this compressed air sortation is what the industry uses.
No, I had a MRF by my home in the state of Washington, so I'm very familiar with it, how it works. But it's like, how do you pick the plastics? Is my choice. So you got air fingers, is what you've got. Okay.
Essentially.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Supervisor Miller.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the things that popped up in discussions in the past has been you're classified under manufacturing, which the permitting process for that might be different than recycling. I would just can imagine that those are different. How and where did you get the classification of the manufacturing, and how, what's the criteria that falls on that?
I guess I'll just give you a disclaimer. I'm not the right legal person to describe this, but I think Arizona passed a law or regulation describing our process, advanced recycle chemical recycling, and described that as a manufacturing process.
Okay.
So that wasn't...
So it's in the statutes someplace?
Yes. So within the statutes, we fall...
You fell within that category?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and the other thing that just fascinates me is finding your raw product. I mean, you're not getting it from the municipal waste
Correct.
delivery. You have a contract with the MRFs.
We do.
Okay.
We contract with the MRFs, so we'll contract with the Phoenix MRFs, the Tucson MRFs, the Las Vegas MRFs. We'll collect material from them.
Okay.
Yep.
So you do have, that's where you're...
That's where some of it, not all of it, but yeah, a lot of
Where
it.
would you say the majority of it comes from,
I mean,
percentage-wise?
yeah, maybe a third of it comes from MRFs. We do collect it from other recyclers. So like the plastic bottle recyclers, they have like those labels. Other recyclers have, it's a residue stream for them, but it's basically plastic. So sort of downstream in the recycling case, even like paper recyclers, paper guys spend a lot of time getting plastic off of their paper, and then they're left with a plastic residue stream that we look at. So in the general recycling industry, maybe a third of it's that, maybe a third of it's from the MRFs, which is the single stream MRFs that we're more familiar with. And then from manufacturing and other odds and ends industry, where we buy like the pill bottles is a good example. But we do buy even directly from manufacturers. Like we talked to auto industries and said, hey, do you have any waste? And they were like, no, we recycle all of our waste internally. And we're like, all right, darn it. But like there are manufacturers that do create manufacturing waste way more than you would think is possible. But when a packager, if the Oreos label is crooked by 5 degrees, now it's trash for them and they throw it away. For us, we'll recycle that.
Yeah, just on kind of a sidebar note, I had visited a window company that used vinyl in their thing.
Correct.
They didn't throw one thing away. They recycle that vinyl all the way back through the system again. Yeah, and I think a lot of industries have gone to that.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely
minimizes how much waste is actually out there.
I mean, some of it even there's like packagers have trim waste. So when they're cutting the sheets perfectly, there's little tiny strips. Yeah. So if you go in our warehouse, you'll see bales full of tiny little strips. That's like trim waste. It's very common. It's everywhere. It all goes to landfill. Nobody recycles any of it.
If not to you. If it's to you, then it doesn't go to the landfill.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Interesting. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Supervisor
thanks.
Video.
So fact number 4, you had mentioned that you absolutely positively want no air, correct?
Correct. We want no air in our reactor.
What happens if it does get air in it? Does it release chemicals? Is it going to be a pollution? What exactly happens if that was to? Because the word guaranteed is probably a very difficult one, but just curious, what happens if air gets in there?
Yeah, I mean, if you, in a high temperature environment, if you put air in there, you're going to get combustion. It'll be, depending on the quantity of air, but basically you get combustion within your reactor. So if you had complete uncontrolled air, that's that's a catastrophic accident if that
So what happens if that does happen? Does that release a bunch of toxins into the air? Again, you know, some of this stuff is way over my head. So, but I know, remember from the original meeting that some of these questions were asked. That's probably the number one question being asked. Maybe, I don't want to speak for anybody, but what happens if there's a failure? What is the catastrophic ending? Is it really bad air? How do you control it? Does it create a burn? Is it going to be an explosion?
Yeah, I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can answer that adequately to give you exactly what happens. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, we do hazard studies, we do risk assessments, but yeah, it's a hydrocarbon plant, right? I mean, so if you think of, you know, it wouldn't be, I mean, that's certainly not something we expect to happen. I mean, we certainly spend a lot of time engineering around those, doing dual fail safes. But yeah, what are the repercussions? What is the worst case scenario? I don't know that I could answer that right now.
And the Ohio plant, have you had anything remotely?
No.
Incidences that?
I mean, we certainly, you know, we're not perfect. We've had mistakes. Have we had oxygen intrusion into the reactor? No.
Just trying to make sure we protect our citizens, that's all.
Of course.
That's the most important thing.
I mean, it's our employees. I'm at the plant there. I want to be protected. I mean, I spend a lot of time at that Ohio plant. So absolutely. So
final product, garbage product? I just was asking. I was wondering. This is the good
This
product.
is a final product in mechanical recycling. This is an intermediate product. So that is the final product out of the warehouse that goes into the reactor.
Oh, okay.
What comes, our final product is like a barrel of oil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? It's a barrel of oil that goes in a tanker car. That's our final product.
Thank you.
That oil gets shipped to our customers.
Any other questions from the board? Supervisor Miller.
Just real quick, I think this kind of goes to the tax. Do you know what your CapEx was for this project here? I mean, how many millions of dollars did you spend to build this plant?
We want to spend as little as possible.
I totally understand that.
I mean, it's probably in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 million for this project here in Arizona.
And a lot of that is equipment. That equipment is personal property tax, and that's where the
tax base comes from.
That's where the tax base comes from.
The warehouse, the sorting
The
equipment.
assessed value of the property, and then the personal property tax on top of that. Yeah. Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you, Mr. Story. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there any more presentation from staff? No.
So the public knows. So this is happening. There's no vote on this or anything.
No.
We're just for information to let the people know what this plant will be doing and why.
Yep. Okay, item 2 is a presentation discussion on proposed revision to air quality fees, authorizing the control officer to make annual adjustments using the Consumer Price Index. And I'm going to assume Mr. Patel is going to do this.
Certainly. Good morning. Good morning, Chairman McClure, members of the board. The item you have before you is the proposed resolution rulemaking that details adjustments to the annual air quality permit fees. The purpose of this rulemaking is to ensure the county can recover the average cost of services needed to administer stationary source air quality permits and perform inspections. The proposed revision would add annual cost reviews to all stationary source fee requirements and link those fees to the consumer price index so they keep pace with inflation. Now, these changes will help prevent the air program's funding from eroding over time, ensuring that we can continue meeting operational needs and maintaining our public health and environmental protection goals. The county's current annual fee adjustment rules were adopted in 1993. Now, those rules authorize the control officer to make annual adjustments for our Title V or major sources of air pollution. With this rulemaking, the control officer is seeking to extend that same authority to include non-Title V air quality permits, and those fee adjustments will continue to be tied to the CPI. These annual increases are expected to remain modest, typically ranging between 1% and 4%, depending on inflation. The Consumer Price Index is a widely accepted objective economic indicator that measures inflation and changes in the cost of goods and services. And using the CPI ensures that the annual fee adjustments are data-driven, transparent, and consistent. Annual fees are updated by multiplying the existing fee by the CPI factor, and this is calculated as the change in CPI from the most recent year relative to the previous year. Annual fees, that particular graph there you see in front of you is the CPI trend since 2010. And you can see that the annual adjustments have generally remained modest, typically again between 1% and 4%. The proposed annual fees adjustment schedule is going to take effect, or planned to take effect on January the 1st, 2027. And it will include all Title V and non-Title V permit fees and will apply to annual fees, emission-related fees, that's just for Title V sources only, and our annual processing billable rates for permit actions. Now, once finalised, the updated fee table will be posted on our Air Quality Industrial Permits Process webpage. So let's take a look at the annual fees in comparison to our neighbours and the other counties. The current comparison of the 2025 to 2026 hourly permit processing billable rates clearly shows that Pinal County's fees are significantly out of alignment with the rest of the state, particularly when compared to ADEQ, Maricopa County, and Pima County. Pinal's hourly processing rate of $111.05 is the lowest among all agencies and is nearly half of what ADEQ's new rate of $208. And furthermore, it's well below Maricopa's $194.40. Even Pima County has increased its rate to $164.80, still far above Pinal County. Now, this same trend appears in the emissions-based fee. Pinal's $19.78 rate is the lowest by a wide margin, whereas the other agencies are moving towards fee structures that are more accurately reflect the actual cost of service and the rising expenses of permit processing. Now, this disparity indicates that Pinal's county's current rates do not reflect the true cost of recovery, especially as regulatory responsibilities, staffing costs, and administrative demands continue to increase. Now, without the adjustment, Pinal's air quality program risks underfunding its permitting program, creating processing delays, resource constraints, and long-term sustainability issues. This rulemaking is not set to align Pinal's rates with other jurisdictions. It's not about matching them for dollar. It's about ensuring that the county has the resources it needs to provide a timely, efficient, and high-quality permit services. Updating the fee schedule will support that operational stability, maintaining our compliance capacity, and ensuring fairness amongst industries operating across Arizona. So the proposed rule amendments apply to our Title V permits. Those existing rules will remain in place for those particular permits. Chapter 3, Article 7, Section 585, that was originally adopted in 1993, will be amended to extend that annual fee adjustment authority to all our non-Title V permits. And in addition, we felt it was important to introduce a new Section 596 that will establish cost accounting requirements for all our Class 2 and Class 3 sources. The amended rule is scheduled to be on the board, scheduled for adoption in their next regular meeting on the February 18th.
So may I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So, looking at this, so the last time this fee was adjusted was October of 2010,
That is correct, yes.
and previously it was November of 93.
That was when the original fee structure was adopted,
Right.
correct?
So 17 years, and then to come back and say 16 years later do this. So this needs to be much tighter, which is what we're doing now, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, what we felt was important to start with is really just kind of bringing up our fee adjustment process to be similar to our neighbours. Each of our neighbours have this similar process of adjusting their annual fees according to the CPI.
Right, and doing it annually. I mean, I'm looking at it from a manufacturer, from my retail world. So, yeah, you need to do it much more often than that. Otherwise, you scare everybody with the giant jumps. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Supervisor Miller.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not disputing these dates, but I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, back when Mr. Sundblom was here, we updated some fees for the department. I don't know which ones, though. So, but yeah, we need to stay on top of this. I do have a question back with the go back a slide or two, if you don't mind, real quick, while I have the floor. Yeah, your emissions fee.
Yes.
Is that annually or is that one time?
So those emission fees are based on per tonne of emissions released by our major sources. So each of our criteria pollutants, the pollutants that we are regulated by the Clean Air Act to control, those are pollutants that are measured at these facilities, and each tonne of those pollutants emitted are billed at the rate that you see on the table there.
Per ton.
So it is monitored, and then they pay
Yes.
monthly, annually, whatever.
It's on an annual basis. Those
It's
are
an annual
actual,
basis.
yes, actual
Okay,
emissions.
that answers my question. That's
Yeah.
what I thought it was, but I just wanted to be sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any further questions? I'll continue with my presentation.
Please continue, thank you.
Thank you. Just going on to our public and stakeholder engagement. On the November 27th, 2025, we began the 30-day public notice period. The public notice of this hearing was distributed by email to all permittees and posted on the county's rulemaking website. Notice was also provided to all the individuals of our rulemaking contact list and also published in the Pinal Central Dispatch and the Casa Grande Dispatch newspapers. The district has received no public comments to date on this rulemaking action. So with that, the rulemaking will be a resolution item for the next Board of Supervisors meeting, regular meeting on the February 18th. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Any other questions from the board? Of course. Supervisor Miller.
If I may, Mr. Chairman. So, excuse me, the emissions fee measured by tons, and all emissions, in other words, from gas generating electricity, all of those stacks, all of that stuff has a monitoring system, and they pay this fee annually.
Those fees are determined, or certainly the rates are determined from a submission of an annual report that is required by the permit condition. So they're required to submit to us their actual emissions through that year.
Okay, and to my point, though, that's that's any and all emissions. In other words, I don't know of anything that would be exempt from that emissions fee. Do you?
No.
Okay.
If it's a regulated air pollutant, it is subject to
Exactly.
an emissions-based
So
fee.
I think that's just one of the things that I do try to emphasize when there's, particularly on the gas-generated facilities to generate electricity. You know, we are monitoring that. We do monitor it closely. The producer monitors it, and it's regulated, and it does generate a revenue. And this may be a question that finance would have to get back to me, but just on that fee alone, what do you think the county collects annually?
That's a great question. I do have my director behind me. She may have the numbers in her
At
head.
least I
but,
just ballpark. I'm just kind of curious annually
that
what
was
we
an
collect.
absolutely great question.
And if we get
Quick, Ms.
get the
Jane,
number-
add them up,
if we
add
get-
them up.
if we get the rate up to a decent, a reasonable amount, it will even generate more revenue. Is
let
my
me step
point.
aside and maybe we'll be able to answer
I'm
that
not,
question.
I'm not a big taxing guy, but there are places where we should be monitoring this a little closer.
Thank you, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman McClure, board members. So just to clarify your question, Supervisor Miller, so these emission-generated fees are just applicable to the major sources. So we have almost 400 sources that we permit in Pinal County, from gas stations to crushing and screening to power plants. So for the major sources that we collect these fees are only 22 sources. They are collected. They are sent these invoices for the emission-based fees. So the rest of the sources we don't. We just have an annual fee and the processing fee if they come up for renewals or revisions. And we are a self-funded department.
I know you are.
Yeah, we collect we make our money off all these, permitting sources. So yeah, these are very important to us, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to modify this rule and make it more clear, because the way it was written before, it just didn't help us in collecting these fees from the sources. But I think just based on I'm just gonna just throw a number. I am not sure the correct amount. I think we collect almost just $200,000 annually from these sources, and the department budget is way more than that. But just these sources alone, we just generate $200,000 in fees, emission fees, and the annual fees.
So 400 emissions permits, but only 44 pay the tonnage?
22 pay emission-based
22.
fee, yeah, only because they're major sources.
Those are major sources.
Yeah, they're major sources. They're called our Title V sources, and they're the only sources that we can collect these emission-based fees. All the other sources, they do have annual fee that we submit. They have to submit to us, but just because they're Title V sources, so we collect an annual fee plus emission fee sources annually from them.
Okay, that's triggering my memory now, Title V. And I used to know who some of them were. But anyway, okay, that helps. That helps me. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Just a
Supervisor
quick question.
Rios.
It just seems like all of our fees, no matter where we are, seem to be pretty low. Again, I don't like raising taxes or fees, but we seem to be in the bottom of many, many fees throughout whether it's building permits or what. So are we looking at raising our fees? Is that something we're asking or not asking, or?
I believe this is what we're
That's
doing.
what that presentation was about.
Across all
18.
departments, we're looking through
On
all,
the 18. Okay. Just want to make sure that,
getting up to speed and not being
Yes.
so far behind, yes.
yes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jane. Thank you, Mr. Patel. I believe with that, there's no more business before the board. We're adjourned. Thank you.